Support the channel by becoming a channel member or joining the Patreon through patreon.com/manlightfoot. Welcome to another episode of Simple Thoughts. Today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Hazbin Hotel. A very divisive series, to say the least. It's mainly something I want to talk about in terms of my feelings towards the show. I've seen the full season. I have some certain opinions about it. But here's the thing. I believe my feelings towards it are a little more nuanced compared to the extremes I've seen from people who absolutely hate this show. I'm someone who's a case of I didn't care too much for it, but the more I sat on it, it kind of grew on me, and I started to appreciate it for what it is and what it managed to get accomplished. That's just something personal with me, and I hope some of you guys can kind of grasp what I'm feeling about it. I hope, if anything, it adds a bit of nuance to the conversation about Hazbin Hotel, because I'm sorry, this is so extreme with how people have been just ravenous against this show. Some of it's a case of like very unfair, and some of it's fair. That's the other thing, and I want to say I lean more fairly, so I guess we could just get right into it. I want to talk about in terms of the story for Hazbin Hotel. I originally thought this was going to be like an episodic series where we're just going to be following Charlie and her escapades of trying to redeem demons in hell. I thought that's what we were getting from the pilot back in 2016. And with the show, it's like, no, we're getting an actual full series, like a full serialized show where there's a full narrative to have to follow. There's an end goal, that needs to be achieved. And I was like, okay, that's a little different. And so we're getting into, the angels and heaven invading and everything in the show. And I was like, okay. I was also not the biggest fan of how the show started, because the show kind of first puts the heaven versus hell stuff forward in the first episode, and then it decides now we're in the hotel, and I'm like, I feel like we should have started with the hotel, but that's just how it goes. The biggest indicator of the show being rushed is the first episode. I can be honest with that. The show is rushed, and that's something I feel people are misunderstanding about how it's rushed. They think it's rushed in the vein of the crew rushed it and just didn't know how to tell a story, right? Like Vivzy Pop herself just doesn't know how to tell a good story. No. What happened is the show was ordered with only 8 episodes. That's what happened. They only have 8 episodes to actually get this show out there. So, in the wake of all these shows getting canceled left and right, now there's a rush job to get as much as you can through before maybe you're about to get the axe. Now, thankfully, this show is doing pretty well. If you believe this show is going to fail, or you can have any effect on it with any negative review you put out there, get real, bro. There weren't that many episodes ordered. That's simply it. In this day and age, they keep ordering less and less episodes for TV shows, trying to compete with YouTube with fast content, which is a stupid idea entirely. So I don't know what you're really supposed to expect. We're long gone are the days of 13 episode orders. Before TV shows would go to 26, that used to be a thing. That's not a thing anymore.
We're losing recipes.
Hazbin is sadly just a product of the system. The system says shorter content, and people are like, I have a story I want to tell, but sadly I have to rush it just to be able to get it out there. I think with what they were able to accomplish with this show actually turns out pretty well. The biggest thing I've heard against it was there's not a lot of downtime with these characters. We don't get a lot of Angel, we don't get a lot of Husk, Alistair, or Charlie, or Vaggie being in the hotel running the business. And that's a fair point. But the thing is, they do give you some pieces here and there. They do give some moments of downtime. to let it be known that it's like, hey, there is some connection being built. These characters all have big personalities that stick out well enough to be able to grasp who they are pretty quickly. That's the thing people kind of ignore about it. It's kind of like, to a degree, like Loud House. If you watch that series at the first episode, it introduces all these different personality types pretty quickly without having to go too deeply into backstory. Granted, this show does go into backstory here and there, and yeah, it feels a little rushed again. Ultimately, these are like characters I find interesting and enjoyable. In terms of the relationships between Vaggie and Charlie, I think they're a cute couple, but it's the same thing of, I kind of wish they had a little more time to them to really get to understand the relationship a bit more for them. Like Vaggie, at first I had some contention against her. I was a little bit like, I don't really care for this character. Like, what is her big motivations? You know, like, why does she do what she does? But it's one of those things where it's like, you're kind of being a nerd who doesn't understand feelings. It's like, if you love somebody, you're gonna do whatever you can to protect them. You know, that's all you need to know. You don't need to think any harder than that. That's her motivation. And that's fine. You know, some people live like that, where it's like they just want to protect, you know, their significant other. And is there anything wrong with that? Not really. Some people operate like that. That's the way of the world. The world is a spectrum of people, and some people have different attitudes, and that's a particular attitude where it's like, I live my life to help somebody else. It just means they're a very selfless person. I think that's just something that's a little endearing with Charlie and Vaggie, is that they're just kind of a sweet couple. We could have used more moments of them just being in their downtime and not being on mission. The problem is always a case of they're always on mission when it comes to like a lot of these like short ordered shows. We just can't have just some downtime. It's always annoying when there's no downtime. I like Angel and his story because it's genuinely heartbreaking. It's like, yeah, he's tied down to this pimp that he can't break away from, and it sucks. He may be a strong fighter, but this person has some spell on him that he can't break free from. So it's a case of you're strong enough to fight back, but you're put in a situation where you know you can't. And that's sadly heartbreaking. But I like Husk in this. I had some contention with Keith David. You what? Don't shoot me. But ultimately, like, my thing with Keith David being the voice is that I think it's one of those, his voice is a little too recognizable. You know what I mean? I like the original voice in the pilot because it was so unique. And with Keith, it's like, this is a very unique voice, but it's a very familiar voice to me. You know, it still works. He's really good in it. He's doing the damn thing. No hate on Keith David. It's just one of those things where it's like had some contention, but it grew on me. But I like Husk ultimately because it's like, yeah, he's that bartender who you have a drink with, you tell him your woes, and you connect with him. And he fills that role just fine, and I like how him and Angel get along, how they're played up as just really good friends. And I think that's just something I enjoy with this, that these characters do actually connect well, even in such a short amount of time. That's something that it's no easy feat to be able to accomplish for any show, to be honest. This show managed to make these characters connect pretty strongly, and I think that's something we should not be mad at. I think that's something it should be praised for. Now, running a hotel in hell can't be easy, what with all the heathens who most likely arrive late for check-in. Way to go, a-hole! So of course, Charlie and them probably gotta use some extra brain power to keep up with everything. Thankfully, this video is sponsored by Brilliant. Brilliant is this great and easy way to learn math, data science, and computer science interactively. You can choose from a whole assortment of different topics to learn from. Thousands of lessons from basics to advanced topics, and new lessons added every month. And don't worry about skill level. Take a quick quiz when you sign up and you'll be matched with content that fits your skill level and interests, whether you're a complete beginner or you're ready to write programs for a quantum computer, all at your own pace. Calculating hotel costs while fending off the army of heaven is no easy task, so the finance and statistics lessons should definitely help keep Charlie's budget in order. But the real good news is that Brilliant has a good deal going right now. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit the link on the screen or click on the link in the description. The first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Brilliant is such a fun way to learn that you definitely don't want to miss out on this deal. And I do want to say thank you to Brilliant for sponsoring this video. The only thing that I think is a big consequence of the short order is the heaven stuff. Personally, as I was watching it, I could not get into it. I thought it was one of those things where it's like, this feels like a season 2, season 3 type of problem. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, it's supposed to build up throughout the whole season, and then you get this big climactic battle or war at the end of the season. Those are effective usually on 26 episode order seasons, or at the very least a 13 episode season. Here, 8 episodes, that's a lot to really try to pack in and to get people on board the idea of a war happening in such a short time. It's just one of those things where the plan of the angels wanting to eradicate hell is like, I get it, but I feel like I should be in hell to understand a little more of it first. You know, like, what is hell in the Hazbin universe? Granted, if you've watched Hell of a Boss, you already know what hell is. But, you know, Hell of a Boss is not on Amazon as Hazbin Hotel is. I wanted to see the hotel more before we got into big lore, end of the world, or fighting for our lives stuff, you know? There genuinely was effort, though. I can't say the heaven versus hell stuff is bad. It's one of those things that needs build up before you do it, you know? It's so much hitting at you in so little time, and you're just told, deal with it, you know? That starts getting a little bit like, you know, it's hard to want to keep up with that. It's like you have these big stories happening, but they're not built up, you know? Because a big thing that really annoyed me, some of the songs, which are phenomenal, they're really good. Like, I constantly have them in my head. I love Poison. Poison's, like, that's a banger. And Loser Baby. I can't get those 2 songs out of my head. I love those. There are a few other songs, particularly with certain characters, I'm just like, it's like they're not bad, but I wish I had more emotionality or connection to it. I wish I got to know who Lucifer was a bit more early on, because they really dropped the whole daddy issues thing, like, within the episode, you know, and it's just like, it's not bad. Again, it's done well. It's, you just wish it had the build up. I think the thing that hurts a lot of these songs, particularly like with Charlie and her dad, was the fact that it's like, I'm just being told that there's daddy issues and they need to be resolved, apparently. Okay, and apparently they got resolved. Okay, it's just so much, it's so fast. The worst to me was this one song in the 3rd episode. It was the first song, actually, between these 2 characters, Carmilla and pink-haired demon lady. These are dynamic characters, I can admit, but my god, I didn't know who anybody was, and they just started singing and battling each other, or verbally battling in the song, and I'm just like, who is anybody here? What is going on?
You better show some respect. Check your behavior.
Who the fuck is this?
This could have worked if I was introduced to any of these characters first. Of course, it's sort of reminiscent of musical theater, because sometimes that can happen where a character just bursts through the door and next thing you know, they're singing a song and introducing themselves and we're figuring out the situation from that. That can happen. And, you know, it's still a TV show, but it's played a little bit like an actual stage musical to a degree. And that's one of those things that I kind of appreciate, is the fact that Vivzy made this show the way she wanted to make it. That's something you gotta appreciate. The fact that even though it's actually owned by a corporation now, the creator, Vivzy, got it to be the way she wants it to be. And it's a success. Like, think about that. Originally, it was just some simple indie short that came out like back in 2016 or so. It was phenomenal for a lot of people. It grew a big fan base, and now we get the show itself in its full form, and it's a total hit. Everybody loves it. The characters are actually fun. People are humming the songs and downloading them. Like, to start off that small and be able to go that big, you gotta appreciate the hustle, and that's why we say that's the power of indie, and that this can be a big thing if you support it properly. Hell, I'll even say drop some links to indie cartoons y'all are working on or that you know of in the comments. I think Hazbin Hotel is a really good series that ultimately just got screwed over in this new day and age where executives sadly are not willing to take big risks with anything and want things to be fast and easy and compete with YouTube. And that's not on the crew or the creator at all. That is all on the people at the top, okay? They're the ones who ordered a small amount of episodes. And that's what we got to deal with. You either make it or you don't make it. If you're telling me I get to at least make it, I'm gonna make it.
That's amazing.
Shh. What needs to happen though is that these creators need to get their rights back if something goes wrong. If, say, the show gets canceled early on, they need to get the property back. Like, it makes no sense that they're not allowed to have the property back, even though y'all cut it short and clearly didn't have any faith in it. It's unfair to them to just be like, yeah, we're gonna take your idea, like, present it, and when it fails, we're just gonna, not do it and just hold on to it, we're not gonna do anything with it, and we don't want you to do anything with it. It's like, that's just greedy. That's horribly greedy and makes no sense.
Fucking love putting my name on shit. Shit's the best.
You really have to praise Hazbin Hotel for the fact that it stayed true to what it was. Vivzy didn't have to change anything about it at all. It's unapologetic. And that's something you have to appreciate for something like this. They easily could have been censored. They easily could have been dialed back by a lot. They could have been. But this show managed to be exactly like how Vivzy and the crew wanted. I'm sorry. To me, that's amazing. So many times you see these projects get to the big times and then they get changed so much to the point it's like they made a new show, basically. Let's be happy that it managed to not conform and actually turn out a pretty fun and engaging show. It actually is the most successful show on Amazon. That's amazing. This, I think, was just me coming to grips with the fact that I learned to like this show. At first, I didn't care for Hazbin Hotel like that. I had some major contentions. It was bugging me here and there. But as time went on and I really thought about it and how much it was able to get accomplished, I realized, yeah, this is actually a really damn good show. And this is a testament to how much you can get accomplished while still by working small and just being patient. Like, you gotta praise it for that. And I think that's something that should never be overlooked when it comes to this series. But that's just a thought.